Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us here today on October 6th in the lovely Leonia Senior Center. We really appreciate you joining us. Yay! And we have a larger crowd than we expected, so thank you so much for joining. We love that. So my name is EJ Vizzi, and I'm the project coordinator of Age Friendly TNEC, and I help direct some of our community programs that we bring into Bergen County. And so two of those community programs are senior checks, which those of you who are familiar with the Senior Center, I have come here to present with my colleague Alexandra. She has the long black hair. And so we have come and we're happy to come out and visit you guys. The Senior Checks program, it is a money management program that we can help our trained volunteers who are background checked, credit checked, and also reference checked to make sure we're bringing quality volunteers to help you with budgeting, with bill paying, with balancing your checkbook. If you just need mail sorting, that's also something our volunteers can help you with. And especially now during Medicare open enrollment, which I'm sure our presenter Charles will be speaking about. Medicare open enrollment is from October 15th to December 8th, and that is when really all of the advertisements, December 7th. And that is when all of the advertisements and solicitations and commercials on TV, through your phone, through your mail are going to be happening. And so we want to make sure that we're armed up, ready to help you. And Charles is going to make sure that he's helping you kind of really sort through those kind of things. And on that note, our Senior Checks program is more of a one-on-one program where we really help our volunteers match with older adults. But our exciting Secures Future for Senior Women program is what we are doing today. And so that's kind of the larger forum education series and workshop series that we want to bring to all older adults in Bergen County, helping women who primarily maybe have been disadvantaged in learning and securing their futures, talking about money. Maybe they weren't able to get all the education they had. Maybe the paperwork they were filling out had assumed that their male spouse was the primary homeowner or the caregiver. And so we want to make sure that as you are aging in your current community, that we're helping you with the opportunities of learning about many ways to bring security. And so in our workshop series, we've talked with elder law attorneys. We've had professors from the Rutgers School of Social Work. We have professionals such as Charles Clarkson here from Senior Medicare Patrol, and even those who help with paper clutter and help with Basics 101 with M&T Bank. We've had presentations. So we're really launching this and we're very excited about it. We'll keep having it every month, so keep a lookout for it. Maggie knows about our presentation, so we'll try to spread the word as much as possible. Moving away from some of the more formal things, we're here today at the Leonia Senior Center. I think many of you know where the restrooms are, so some general housekeeping. Feel free to use the restroom when you need. We also have food in the back. We're going to call everyone table by table so you can get up and get some food. If you need more water, you can signal out for me. I'm EJ. I also have Steven here helping me out, and you can just raise your hand and we'll come and help you out, okay? Well, on that note, I just wanted to thank you again all so much, and I'm going to be passing the mic over to Charles. We will be recording this, this workshop today. If there's anyone who is speaking up but you don't want to be recorded, please let me know. We'll make sure we edit it out of the videos. We post these on our Brightside Family YouTube channel, which is a nonprofit organization helping to promote affordable housing and supportive services for seniors. So I just want to make sure that everyone would feel comfortable being recorded, and if not, you come talk to me. Thank you so much and enjoy, and without further ado.
Thank you. I haven't talked yet.
I know, that was for her.
Okay, I guess it's good afternoon, everyone. My name is Charles Clarkson. I am the project director of the Senior Medicare Patrol of New Jersey. If you need a reminder, just look at my hat, SMP, this is why I wear it. It's the Senior Medicare Patrol. Every state has a Senior Medicare Patrol. We are federally funded by the Administration for Community Living, which is part of Health and Human Services Administration. And our job, and we're going to do two things today, our job is really to help you fight Medicare fraud, waste, and abuse. And I do lectures throughout the state because my program is a statewide program, even though it's federally funded. We cover the entire state of New Jersey. We're not selling anything. We're not trying to urge you to go into one plan or another or do anything like that. We just want to educate you about Medicare fraud, waste, and abuse. But today, we're also giving you some basic computer training, okay? So, as you can see, it's on the screen now. So we're going to go through that. I might not mention everything on the screen, but you can read it on your own. And we're going to start out with what you're going to learn today. And I just want you to be more familiar with your computers, your cell phones, your laptops. How many of you use computer on a regular basis? Okay. How many have a laptop? Okay, most of you. How many of you have a smartphone? Okay, well that's good because you could probably do everything on your smartphone that you could do on your laptop. How many of you have the old-fashioned desktop in your house? Yeah, they still work, as long as you can get internet service. Now, if you don't use a computer, I would encourage you to learn because it allows you basically to search the world. You don't want to go to Africa on a safari? Go on YouTube and click safari, and you probably could go on a safari on YouTube. You can't do that without internet service, okay? Now, this room has internet service. I logged on to it, so I'm going to, later on, when we get to that point and we talk about the internet, I'm going to give you some examples, okay? Now, one of the big things that people are using the internet for is shopping. I haven't been in a mall in 3 years. I buy everything on Amazon. Any of you use Amazon? Okay, well, we're going to show you what that looks like a little later. And I'm telling you, it saves gas. And if you're a Prime member and you buy a lot, it's worth it to pay the fee to be a Prime member. Also, if you're on Amazon Prime, you now can get videos on your smart TV. Amazon Prime Video. So there are a lot of things you can do on the internet. So let's get started. We're going to learn some basic computer terms today. Just go around the desktop, the hardware. What is hardware? And we're going to talk about that. And we're going to talk about browsers and other things like that. Okay? Now, here's a quote from Steve Ballmer. I don't know if you know who Steve Ballmer is, but he was the president of Microsoft. Okay? One of the benefits of having a computer and having internet service is that it allows you basically to educate yourself, search the world, look up anything. I know I'm very handy for fixing things. So I had to change a faucet the other week. I went on YouTube and I followed it step by step with my laptop sitting on the floor next to me because your Wi-Fi in your home should cover the entire house. Now, I live in a large house. I have 4 stories if you count the basement. And my modem is in the basement. How do I get that signal really strength to go up to the 3rd floor and the attic? Well, I get extenders. In other words, I could connect my modem to a device that allows the signal to be amplified and put on a different floor. So I have an amplifier on my 1st floor and I have an amplifier on my 2nd floor. And that seems to get to the attic also, so it doesn't seem to be an issue. But, it allows you to be more productive. Okay? And we're going to talk about things you can do on the internet. And we're also going to talk about how do you protect yourself when you're on the internet, what you have to watch out for, okay? So, okay. Now, this phone This is an iPhone from Apple. This is a laptop from Dell. Okay? What they all have in common is they have the brains. Does anybody know what the brains are called?
Main something or other.
It's the central processing unit, right there, the first item. This thing is useless without a card inside that tells my phone how to work. Okay? Just like your brains tell you how to walk and talk and do other things, the central processing unit fits into these items. And these items are called hardware. Nothing special about it, made of metal. Okay? And this is hardware. This is hardware. Your desktop is hardware. So, and there, of course, we talked about most of the common items, the desktop computer, the tablet. How many of you have a tablet that you use on a regular? Yeah, we all seem to have a lot of them, okay? I have 5 tablets. Don't ask me how I got that many, but I do. You know, my wife has one, I have 2, and we have 2 extras that we got as gift that just float around. You know? But anyway, because it makes access easier. What's great about the tablet is it's so small, just like your iPhone, you can carry it. And yet it has a bigger screen to allow you to use it easier. I know some of you, and we're going to talk about access. I bet
How long are we going to be here?
you're going to be here for years.
You're stuck with us.
You're stuck with us. And by the way, I'm also a New York attorney, so don't hold that against me. You know, people always ask me, how did you get from being a New York attorney to being the project director of the Senior Medicare Patrol? But I'm going to tell you that story. So in the year 2000, I was general counsel to Beatrice Foods. Anybody know what Beatrice Foods? You've heard of Beatrice Foods. No longer around in the U.S. But in the year 2000, the company was sold. I was general counsel. I was out of a job. Okay? So I decided to retire at the age of 50. And I took 5 years to help raise my 2 kids. In the year 2005, my wife was elected president of the Jewish Family Service. And one day she came to me and she said, honey, and I knew I was in trouble. She said, honey, I have a grant at the agency called the Senior Medicare Patrol, and the project director just quit. You know, you're not doing anything. You should take that job. And I said, what are you talking about? I don't know anything about Medicare or Medicaid. Then she said one more thing. She said, honey, you're driving me crazy. Get the hell out of the house. So here I am. Okay, so I've been doing this since 2005. So I am quite adept at knowing a lot about Medicare and about Medicare fraud, waste, and abuse. All right, so let's go further. Okay, now this is an old-fashioned picture, but basically it gives you kind of an idea of what our computers consist of. Okay? We talked about the brain, the central processing unit, okay? And then, of course, you have a screen. You have speakers. Now, in a laptop and the tablet, the speakers are built in, right? In the old days, you had speakers and you attached them to your desktop. You still might have them, okay? But it depends on the model you have and how old it is, okay? And then, of course, you have a mouse. I hate the mouse, but I use my finger on the touchpad. My wife refuses to use the touchpad and only wants the mouse. And the mouse can be wireless or it can be wired. I hate anything with wires, so anytime I try to get something, I try to get it wirelessly. And you see this little component here, this USB port, this connects to my keyboard. I didn't bring the keyboard, obviously, but it allows my keyboard to operate with my laptop. Now, I don't need a keyboard. I can use the keys on the laptop, but I like using the keyboard, so I like it wireless, okay? And it also allows the mouse to work with the laptop, all from this one little thing here. So just be aware of that. So let's see. And then, of course, we talked about the brains, but how did the brains know what to do? Well, that's the software. That's the operating system. That basically tells the computer how to operate. And there are whole people that basically learn coding and how to basically learn how to code a laptop, a tablet. And most of this is built in, and when you get it, you just set it up based upon the parameters you want. Okay? So let's go further. We talked about these already. Let me lower this so you can see all of it. Okay? So we have the laptop, the tablet, and the phones. Okay? Now, interestingly enough, when they sent the man to the moon in 1969, my iPhone has more computer power than the trip to the moon.
Wow.
And look how small it's gotten. Okay? Remember the control room in 69? If you saw hundreds of stations, this could do all of that. It's hard to believe, isn't it? That's how much it's gotten to be miniaturized. So I could do anything on this phone that I could do on my laptop or my tablet. And not only that, it makes telephone calls. Okay? So now there are common browsers. A browser basically is the tool that allows you to search the internet on your computer. Okay? And there are some common ones. You've heard of Google Chrome, right? Yeah. Safari, Microsoft Edge. There are some others out there, but we'll stick to those. And basically, by typing in the search, it allows me to find what I'm looking for. But be very careful. Like I was just the other day, I have to buy a ticket to go to Florida, so I typed in United.com, which is United Airlines. And you would think that would come up first, right? No. There are a lot of sites that look like you could book through United, but they're not the official United site. So you have to always make sure what site you're on. You know, look at the URL or which is the source of the address of the website, and make sure you're on the right website. You know, one of the things that causes problems with people is that you are scammed constantly. And one of the ways you are scammed is people sending you emails, but if you looked at the URL carefully, you notice it's not proper. Okay? Now, on my iPhone, every day now, I'm getting a text message saying, confirmation, Walmart. Well, I know I haven't bought anything in Walmart in a while, but that's a scam. Never, never, never open up a site that you know you haven't done anything on in a while. Now, they know a lot of people use these, especially Amazon. You know, you have to be very, very careful. You have to protect yourself at all times. Okay, so let's go further down. Okay, so we talked about the wireless mouse. I should bring one with me. I'm sorry I didn't today. But this little gadget here allows that mouse to speak to the laptop. So it's a wireless mouse. Many of you probably have a wired mouse, right? With the wire that connects to the input on your laptop. They both work the same, just that one doesn't have wires and one does. And it works through a Bluetooth. You know, this is the way that items can communicate with each other over a short distance. And I cannot take my mouse a mile away and expect it to work with my laptop, which is in another location. It has to be within a certain distance in order to work. Okay? And of course, you can right-click and left-click. You know, if you want to copy something, you can right-click it, you can paste it, you can cut it. So it takes practice. You are not going to ruin the machine. Well, that may be not true, but anyway, you're not going to ruin it too bad. So don't be afraid to practice on your laptop or your tablet or your computer. Log on to YouTube, search something you might have an interest in. You'd be surprised. I have found that anything in the world that I want to know about is on YouTube. There's a video that someone's made that they put on YouTube, and it's free. You can't get any better than free, okay? Unless they give you cash back. Anyway, but that's beside the point. So we talked about the keypad, or right here, or the mouse. I like using the keypad, but that depends. So now you see my arrow, my little black arrow here? This basically tells me where I'm moving around my laptop. But did you know you could change the size of the arrow and you could change the color? Did anybody know that? You can customize your computers to make your job easier. So I'm going to give you an example. Okay, if I go to Settings and I go to Ease of Access, you see that? Ease of Access. You should all have these on your settings, hopefully. And I go to Ease of Access, you see I can make the text bigger. All right, you see it's at the lowest, but I can make it, you see the sample text gets bigger and bigger. So, and I talked about the mouse pointer. So I go to mouse pointer, it's right there. Okay, and I want to make it bigger. Look how much bigger it's gotten. I could change the color, make it white. Or I could do this. Okay, so you can see you can customize your computer to make it work better for you. So go to Ease of Access on Settings and see what you can customize to make it. I mean, if you have poor vision, you might want to make the text larger. Why not? Makes it easier to read. Okay? So don't feel as you're stuck to what's already on there. So I like to use black because a lot of things have a white background, and I like to be able to see the cursor. As you can see, this background is white, but my cursor is black, so it stands out. Okay? And of course, you get all these other things here. If I'm on a Microsoft Word program and I'm in between letters, I'll usually get this I-beam. Shows me where I'm at on my document. Okay? And of course, this is the one that most of us are familiar, the hourglass and the circle. Okay? Now, when you see that circle going around, that means your computer is acting to try to receive or retrieve where you want to go. But it's taking time. Don't keep clicking on the website. You have to be patient. Let the computer load the program you're searching. And the hourglass is the same thing. It depends on what program you're on. It just says that it's working, and it's going to take time. Okay, and of course, your pointing hand, if you're going to a website with a URL and you click it up, your finger will then point and you click on it. So there are all these things out there. You just have to get familiar with them. They're not strangers, they're not aliens. All you have to do is get familiar with your laptop. So sit down for a half hour, open the laptop, go on the internet. Now, let's talk about the internet for a second. So when I came in, I asked Maggie, I said, do you have internet service? And she said, yes. So I went to, now I can go here on the settings, or I can go to the bottom of my computer and log on to this. And you see all the all the internet services that are able to be reviewed by this laptop or captured by this laptop shows up. And I could change. So as you can see, there's a Garson family, obviously has a strong internet. Garcon family guest. That means this computer is recognizing those. Now, I won't be able to get on because this little lock, you see the little lock here? Next to the name? That means it's secured. That means if I'm going there, I need a password to get on. So a lot of people, when they have internet in their home, sometimes they set up, I don't do this, but sometimes because I trust my guest, sometimes they set up a guest site where the guest can go on and not use the main Wi-Fi with the password, so they don't have to get the old password. So you can do that, but I trust my children, I trust my guests, so I don't find it necessary. But you can do that if you wanted to. So let's get out of here. Okay, so how does the internet work? Well, all of you, if you have internet, have an ISP, right? What's an ISP? That's an internet service provider. So, what do you have in your homes? What do you have in your home? What internet do you have? What? Optimum? Okay, that's what I have. Anybody have something else in their home? Verizon, yes. Comcast, yes. Yeah, there are all these now. Some towns like mine, I live in Metuchen. And my TV, I can only get Cablevision. Why? Because the town has an agreement with Cablevision to provide the service in the town. So if I wanted to get other TV or cable service, I have to get a dish. And guess what? Verizon Vios is not in Metuchen. So I can't go there. So you can be limited as to where you go to get your Wi-Fi, depending on where you live and the service that's provided by the town. Okay? So the signal comes in from your ISP. Sorry about that. The signal comes in from your ISP and goes to your modem. But your modem, you want to send the signal out to your whole house, right? How does that happen? Well, your modem then connects to your wireless router. You see this thing with antennas? Now, most of them don't have antennas anymore. Like I have an Apple wireless router, and it sends the signal out to the entire house. And like I said earlier, to make sure I get a strong signal on every floor, I bought extenders that I coordinated. All right, let me shut this down. Excuse me. I never get calls. All of a sudden I sit here, I get calls.
Of course.
It happens all the time. Anyway, so my wireless router then connects to the devices. Okay? So this room has internet service that my computer is picking up wirelessly because there's a signal in the room that I can pick up. And if I have a printer, I can connect to my printer, usually wirelessly nowadays, although you could still wire up a printer, have an actual wire to connect the printer to your laptop. Now, of course, when you wire something, in other words, you have an actual wire like this, you do get better quality and better reception, but I don't like wires. I don't want them in my house. I want to hide them as much as possible. So I rather use wireless devices, and so this is an HDMI that's connected to this TV. And it allows me to basically share my screen with the TV, and it's also connecting with the TV and behind you. Okay? So you can do wonderful things with your laptop, Now, let's say I wanted to see a program on my laptop, like a movie. If I took my laptop, this HDMI cable, and I had a long enough one, which I do at home, I connect it to the back of my TV, and whatever's on my computer, I can then now watch on my large screen TV. You can do that. You're not stuck with watching it on your laptop. Okay? you can connect to the back of your TV. You know, HDMI, depending on the TV you own, might have 2 inputs, 3 inputs. I know mine, I have a 65-inch LG smart TV, and it has 3 inputs for HDMI. HDMI 1, 2, and 3. Okay? So depending on where I plug it into the back of my TV, I change the source so I get the signal from the right HDMI cable. And then whatever's on my computer, I could then now watch on my TV. And a lot of people do that. So frankly, I have all the services, so I don't really need the laptop, but I can do it. All right? Just to let you know.
Where do you live?
Where do I live? I live in Metuchen. That doesn't help you. So we talked about the ISPs. Here is a list: Comcast, Verizon, AT&T, Cablevision. You've all said all these words, but basically those are the programs, and you're paying for those. Now, one of the things I have found is that if your town has a limited connectivity, let's say only to Cablevision, you're going to find that the cable price is higher because there's no competition. You know, in cities or towns that have dueling ISPs, you find that the price goes down because of the competition. Okay? And of course, you know, not only are you paying for the TV, but you're paying for internet service. And of course, depending on what you buy and how much you buy, you can spend a lot of money every month on Amazon and Netflix and, you know, all these other services, Disney Plus. And by the way, many of these streaming, they're called streaming services, many of these streaming services are not doing very well. I think you're going to find in a number of years that the big ones, like Disney, Netflix, they're going to be the survivors, okay? Because the other streaming services don't have enough people, and they're losing money because, you know, it's expensive to buy the content. I have a daughter who's an assistant director on Law and Order. And it's amazing what it takes to put on a half-hour television show. And they, in order to make money, they sell that to the television network, to the cable networks, to the streaming networks. That's how they make their money, besides ads that come in between the commercials. You know, there are more commercials now on television. Every time I change to a football game, I have to go through a commercial. It's amazing to me how many commercials there are. But that's how come you get free TV. Otherwise, you'd have to pay for it. Okay, so I talked about accessibility, and I showed you an example. Okay, so you can increase the size of the cursor, you can increase the size of the text. You know, and some services allow you to speak to your laptop, and it'll then take the speech and turn it into text. So if you have problems typing, and who would have thought that when I was in junior high school, they made me take typing. I said, what a waste. But now the entire world depends on typing, right? Yeah. Think about it. You know, I took a year of typing, and I'm so happy now that now I can type because I don't have to look. I don't go like this. You know, I can type, especially with Word documentation. I'm not the fastest, I'm not the slowest, but, you know, thank goodness for junior high school. And that was many years ago, by the way. Okay? All right, so let's give it a shot. I talked about Amazon and Google and all the other stuff. So now that we're connected to the internet. By the way, this is Amazon. And why are they showing this? Because now Amazon, in order to watch Thursday night football in the NFL, you have to have Amazon Prime. Because they bought the rights to Thursday night football, And if you don't have Amazon Prime, you're not going to watch it. You see, live tonight, that's what you're doing. And of course, if you want to shop, all you have to do is type in what you want to shop. Okay, well, give me something you want to shop. What do you want to buy? Oh, I know, we'll say pocketbooks. Okay? How about that? Voila. Thank you. More things than you can ever imagine to purchase. Really. Now, it's my daughter's account. You see, it says, "Hello, Paula." Of course, I pay for it. Just like I pay for the car insurance and all the other things she uses. But the account, it happens to be in her name. Okay. So, all right. So that's the basic. And I just want to talk about, the last thing I want to talk about is fraud on the computer. Look, if you want to protect yourself at all times, never use the internet.
Say that again?
If you want to protect yourself at all times and not worry about your personal information, never use the internet. But who wants to live like that? I don't. I want to pay my bills using my bank account online. I don't have to buy stamps. I don't have to buy envelopes. I don't have to write checks. Wonderful. Isn't the world a lovely place? No, really. You can do so much now. So, really, and
get frauded too.
when you're going on sites, two things you should remember. If you need a password, make sure it's long and strong. Now, don't ever use the same password twice. Ever. If you use a password, write it down on a book that you keep in a safe place. All right? Yeah. Make sure. Don't make it easier for the scammers to get into your system or to get to your sites with your username and password. You know, I have, that I carry, which I shouldn't, but I do, 2 pages back to back with almost 200 websites with different passwords. And the important ones I change every 3 months. So, my bank account, that's sensitive. I want to make sure I change it at least every 6 months. I like to do it 3 months. You know, my credit cards, my bank account, okay? All of these things that are sensitive. Now, look, I don't care about my fantasy football league. What can they possibly do? Pick somebody on my team that I don't like? You know, it depends on the site and how careful I want to be. And watch out for scams. Don't let anybody, if you see an email or a text that you don't recognize, please don't open it. Just erase it. If you think it's legitimate, you call the site directly. For instance, I get a text saying your Amazon account has been frozen because of fraud alerts. Fine. Erase it. I call Amazon. Hey, Amazon, you having a problem? Oh, no. I just want to let you know that we're getting these emails in your name with their logo. Okay? You have to be very, very careful. So we're going to have to get to Medicare fraud, waste, and abuse, okay? And if you have any questions about your devices, I'll happy to stay afterwards and answer them for you. But let's talk about now Medicare fraud. And I have a question for you. How much money do you think Medicare loses in 1 year to fraud, waste, or abuse? Billions. How many billions? 60 $billion a year. 1 year. 1 year. 60 billion. And who's paying for that? Yeah. All of us. Comes out of our tax dollars, right? And guess what? That doesn't include Medicaid. And that doesn't include private insurance. The FBI estimates that for every $10 we spend on medical services, $1 is lost to fraud, waste, and abuse. And that number could be as high, if not higher, than $250 billion a year. So we all have a stake. Even if you're not on Medicare, you have a stake in Medicare fraud, waste, and abuse because it comes out of our tax dollars. Your children, your grandchildren, we're all affected. So there are a couple of rules I want to pass on to you. How many of you right now are carrying your Medicare cards? Do not, I repeat, do not carry your Medicare card with you. You don't need to. Now, I always get a question. What happens in an emergency, Mr. Clarkson? What do I do? Nothing. I'll give you an example. I'm driving down the New Jersey Turnpike, and I'm in a car accident, and I'm rendered unconscious. What's going to happen? The police will come, they'll call an ambulance, and they'll take me to the nearest hospital. Do they search my pockets to see if I have a Medicare card? Or any insurance? Of course not. You have to be treated in every state in this country in an emergency, even if you don't have insurance. So leave it at home. Only take it with you if you're going to a doctor. Take it with you. Going to a hospital, take it with you. But otherwise, put it in a safe place. Now look, when I say a safe place, don't put it where you can't find it. That defeats, yeah, and of course, now look, I go to my doctor. I don't carry him, but he knows me, right? He can look me up. So can the hospital you go to. Believe me, they can look you up. You don't need to carry the Medicare card with you. The next thing is, please read your statements carefully. If you're on original Medicare, you get a Medicare summary notice. If you're on a Medicare Advantage plan, you get an explanation of benefits. I don't care what you're on. Read the statements carefully, because if you don't read them, any errors, any fraud, they get away with it. Okay? And I handed out bags, right? And in the bag was a health tracker. Why did I hand this out? Well, I can't remember what I did 3 months ago, because it usually takes 3 months before I get a Medicare summary notice. So every time I go to the doctor, write it down. The date, not only the date and who you saw, and any test you took. What else you did there? Why? Then when you get your statement from Medicare, let's say this is a Medicare statement, you compare the two. Make sure you're not being cheated. That's key.
Can't trust the doctors, I guess.
What was that?
Can't trust the doctors.
I hate to say it, but if you looked up Medicare fraud on your computers, which I now showed you how to do, you won't have to worry about going outside ever. There's more fraud in Medicare and other health services than you ever want to imagine. Yes?
I don't even take my
I can't have to take off your mask.
I don't even take my Medicare card to a doctor's office. I take a copy of it.
Yeah, you don't. You don't have to take the card to the doctor. That's why I said I don't take mine, and I just sign in, boom. And, well, I'm one of those crazy types. I actually memorize my Medicare ID number. So, yeah, I can remember numbers, but I can't remember names. I don't even remember my wife's name sometimes. But numbers, for some reason, I can remember numbers easily. I guess it depends on type of brain you have. So, read your statements. Now, of course, you read your statements and you suspect something. I don't remember getting that test. What do you do? What do you do? Yes, you could call a doctor and say, hey, this is a mistake. I want it corrected, and get a corrected bill. Now, here's what happens. You call up your doctor's office. You don't get to speak to the doctor. You get to speak to the billing department. And I've been doing this for a lot of years, and the billing department is going to tell you, oh, no, it's in the records. You got it. Then who do you call? You call the Senior Medicare Patrol of New Jersey. We have 30 to 40 volunteers that we've trained. We assign a volunteer to your case, and that volunteer's job is to help you fight the fraud, waste, and abuse. And we've been quite successful. Now, we have a lot more power than you do. I mean, you call the doctor's office and you say, Doc, this is the correct, or the billing department, this is not right, I want to change. You probably never hear back from them. But when I call a doctor's office and I say, would you like me to open up an investigation about your billing? He thinks twice. So we can help. We're free. Doesn't cost you anything to use the Senior Medicare Patrol of New Jersey. We would ask you to send us some documentation so we can review it. Now, unfortunately, these things do take time. You know, there was a joke about Medicare. If there's a race between a glacier and a Medicare, who wins? The glacier. So you have to, be patient. But, a lot of people call me and they say, I'm worried about my credit. They're 80 years old. I said, are you buying a car? No. I said, you buying a house? No. Are you using any credit? No. Don't worry about your credit rating. I mean, I am just astounded. Look, I understand a credit rating is important. I know. But still, and a lot of people just get a bill and they pay it because they don't want to be hassled. They don't want it to go to collection. They don't want it to affect their credit rating. But now there's the Senior Medicare Patrol. We can help you. We're free. Now let's talk about some of the common scams that we are seeing in Medicare. Okay? Number one, genetic testing. You get an email, a text. Your doctor ordered this genetic test for you because of your condition. Scam. Not medically necessary, not ordered by your doctor. Okay? So if you ever see that, please don't fall for it. Vaccines. You take a vaccine paid for by the federal government. By the way, you should not have to pay for the COVID-19 vaccine, even if you're not on Medicare. The government is paying for these vaccines. But after you get the vaccine, you get a survey email. Oh, fill out this survey. It looks like it's coming from Pfizer or Moderna. Scam. Even though they're offering you $50 to $75 to complete the survey, you're never going to see that money. And what do they want? Your personal identifiable information. Don't give it to them. Durable medical equipment. You get a box in the mail. It's got a brace. Neck brace, knee brace, ankle brace, back brace. I don't care what brace. If you didn't order it, it's not medically necessary, didn't come from your doctor, you can return it if there's a return label, but I would not pay for anything. I recommend, and the S&P recommends, that if you can return it without costing you anything, fine. Otherwise, keep it. Under the consumer protection laws in almost every state, if you get something delivered to you unsolicited, you can do anything you want with it. Throw it in the garbage. Give it to charity. Save it for future use. I don't know. But please, okay? Those are some of the common scams that we are seeing. And another scam that's reasserted itself. Remember 3 years ago, Medicare gave you all new Medicare cards? What changed from the old Medicare card to the new one? That's right. They removed the Social Security number to help fight fraud, waste, and abuse. Well, now, at that time, there was a huge amount of fraud about people getting calls saying, we need to verify your Medicare number to send you the new Medicare card. Well, that was a scam. Now it's coming back saying, Medicare is issuing new plastic cards with a chip, just like your credit card. Scam. They want you to confirm your Medicare number so they can send you this new plastic card. Please don't fall for the scams. And what I'm saying to you is you have to be proactive. If you suspect anything, please, I prefer you not to do anything than to get scammed. Okay? And if you're going to sites such as your bank account, your credit card account, and they offer a two-step authentication process, you know, where they send you a code, but the text, do it. It might take a minute or two longer, but it protects you. It protects your identity. So whenever you get a chance to have a two-step authentication process, please enroll in it. It'll really, really protect you. Yes.
My bank doesn't do that. My bank, no,
What bank?
TD Bank.
CD Bank?
TD.
Oh, TD Bank. I'm
I've asked
surprised.
them, yeah, me too. I've asked them several times, oh, no, we don't have that. Now, I do online banking.
Yeah. Yeah.
There
Well, you
is-
could always switch bank accounts.
No,
You see what I mean?
but,
You see,
but
yes.
I found out, I don't know how to do it. Maybe you can help me. There is a way that we can set up a two-step authentication, verification. I don't know how to do it.
It's very difficult to do that, okay? So, but we'll leave that aside. So that's Medicare fraud, waste, and abuse, and we want you to help us fight it. It's a lot of money we're losing. The money that's not being used by the Medicare program to provide you services, that's being skimmed off the top for fraudsters. So if you suspect fraud, waste, and abuse, what are you going to do?
Call you guys.
Thank you. You're going to call me or call the Senior Medicare Patrol and let us help you. We're free. We're federally funded. All we want to do is fight Medicare fraud, waste, and abuse. Now, I know I've talked a lot, but any questions before we end?
All right, then go. Okay. If you want to go.
Okay, well, thank you all for coming. It's a nice turnout. I really appreciate it. Bye-bye.
You go to class, Lynn? Lynn is already there. Oh,
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
I wonder, I got a bill from my insurance company.